All right, we'll call this meeting to order. We'd like to welcome everybody today to the Harriman City Council meeting February 2nd, 2016. We'll start our meeting with a prayer by Councilman Wright, and we'll follow that by pledging to the flag. Councilman Wright.
Would you join us, please? Heavenly Father, we who are gathered here tonight for this meeting, we give you thanks for the privilege we have to meet openly and to be able to express our opinions and beliefs without any fear of reprisal. We thank you, Heavenly Father, for inspiring our forefathers to establish this great nation based upon your values. May each of us strive to live up to those standards. And may your Spirit guide our thoughts and our actions during this time. In Christ's name we pray. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Chris Taylor.
Here.
Wayne Best.
Here.
Buddy Holly.
Here.
Kenyon Me.
Here.
Ken Minott.
Here.
Lonnie Wright.
Here.
Included in your packet is a copy of the minutes from the January 12th meeting. Is there a motion to approve those? Motion. Motion by Councilman Best and second by Councilman Holly. Councilman Best. Councilman Holly. Floor is open for anybody that has any corrections, additions, or deletions. Call the roll, please.
Chris Taylor.
Yes.
Wayne Best.
Yes.
Buddy Holly.
Yes.
Kenyon Me.
Yes.
Ken Minott.
Yes.
Lonnie Wright.
Yes.
Also included in your packet is a copy of the special call meeting on January 19th. Is there a motion to approve those?
No.
Motion by Councilman Wright, second by Councilman Ayler. Councilman Wright, the floor is yours.
No.
Councilman Ayler.
Yes, sir.
Floor is open for questions or discussion. Corrections, amendments, or deletions? Call the roll, please.
Chris Taylor.
Yes.
Wayne Best.
Yes.
Buddy Holly.
Yes.
Kenyon Me.
Yes.
Ken Minott.
Yes.
Lonnie Wright.
Yes.
We need to pay our employees. Is there a motion to approve that?
Motion.
Motion by Councilman Meade, second. Second by Councilman Holly. Councilman Meade.
No, sir.
Councilman Holly. Floor is open. Call the roll.
Chris Taylor.
Yes.
Wayne Best.
Yes.
Buddy Holly.
Yes.
Kenyon Me.
Yes.
Ken Minott.
Yes.
Lonnie Wright.
Yes.
We're in delegations at this time. If you would like to address City Council, you may do so right now. If you would stand and state your name and try to limit your comments to 3 minutes to accommodate others that might like to speak.
Yes, I'm John Maliski. I'm with the Disabled American Veterans Post 86 here in Harriman, or actually in Rowan County. I wanted to thank the council for the city's effort in our fundraising drive. Last year's report is we had 22,022 miles on the van program and 18,009 for our new van is parked down there at the VA clinic. So bought it here at the Ford dealer and had it wrapped up there at the sign shop, and so it's Harriman's well represented there. We've had a lot of comments. With the advent of, I've got 5 years to start approaching to get more monies, then I'm going to be putting in letters requesting, I guess, on an annual basis for smaller amounts than what I asked for last time, and in this way we can start banking that money, and then when it comes time on a 6.5 year rotation, of course 1 year has already gone by, then we'll have the money for the replacement, and then our efforts won't be so stressful. So, but I'm going to be sending Assistant Chief of the Fire Department here a nice picture of the back of the van where it mentioned City of Harriman and employees, and anything over $5,000 I had in gold. So with the roadblock in the housing authority, we were past that. So I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you. Has that been a year?
Yes, sir. We bought it last February and put it in service in March.
Thank you for what you do. We're still in our delegations.
Travis Webb. I got a couple of things I was going to bring up. Number one, the batting cage down here that you guys have leased us the building to. We realized that lease is a 1 year deal, and we was asking to maybe look at redoing that. It's been a good asset for all the kids at high school and middle school. I've had kids come up that I was a little worried about which way they was going to go, and they've come up and told me, said, man, that's just a great thing for us down here. It gives them a place to go, and we're looking at probably 50 kids a day coming through that thing. The high school goes in there at 3:30 because they can drive. Then the middle school kids come in about 5. Every one of them has a release they've signed, and we've got insurance on the building. So that sort of was the issue, was trying to get the lease renewed and make sure that we do everything that we should do there. Number 2, as all of you probably well know, my wife's got the All Care Family Practice, and we got that building through the industrial board. And the way things worked with that was just, it just went just as smooth. You hear war stories about, this will happen, that'll happen, but we had a few hiccups, but Kevin worked with us and you guys worked with us, and it's just been a blessing for them girls up there and being able to be right here in Harriman. And I just want the industrial board to know, and you guys know, that they really appreciate it.
Good. We're happy to have everybody here. When's that lease up?
Probably.
Mr. Mayor, that lease actually has an automatic renewal agreement, so council doesn't necessarily have to take any action. We just need to get an updated copy of the insurance to put on file here in the office.
It wasn't $1 a year or anything, was it?
It wasn't $1 a year.
Okay. I would, just to cover you, make sure you pay that, get a receipt. That way nobody can hold that over you. Still in the delegations. Now we'll move on to old business. Old business, Councilman Wright.
No.
Old business, Councilman Minor.
No, sir.
Councilman Ayler. Old business.
I noticed from actually a couple of constituents mentioned something to me. If you're pulling into the post office, there's a pretty substantial eating away at the pavement right there. I don't really have any history on it, but I know that the council may have any history on that. Is that something that the city needs to take care of? Is that the state? Is that the property owner? Can you give us some information on that?
Where is that?
It's right next to the post, as you pull into the post office going towards the interstate, right before you turn right into the post office, it's being pulled away right there. My guess is it's part of the poor job of filling that was done when that whole section through there was created, but I don't know for sure.
That's not on down past CVS, is it?
No.
Oh, I don't know about that.
They got barricades around, I believe, don't they? What's wrong
They
with that?
have, I just didn't know if that was from the comments that I got from constituents, they thought that it was a city issue or perhaps maybe even an HUD issue, but I said, of course, right. But I said, I don't think that's probably the case. To me, it looks like it should be a state issue. So
Yeah, if it keeps going the road, they'll get out on the main road.
it's pretty
Eventually,
substantial.
it's pretty bad.
Yeah, it's pretty bad.
There's some cones in there.
Whose cones are they?
They have barrels. It's barrels around it now.
It's state. I don't think we have any barrels.
We've got some of that.
I'll look at it. I'm aware of 2 other locations, but not that location, so I'll see what I can find out. And it would most likely be the state, so once I look at it, if that is the case, I'll contact them.
I thought he was referencing the hole back behind CVS.
Yeah, that's one of the ones I'm aware of.
I hope that we are going forward on notifying that guy, the property owner, and filing a lawsuit on him. I don't know if we need to take action on that or not, but
The process has been started, but it's kind of on hold right now until we get somebody in that position to take that back up.
I thought Maria had started that, but I didn't know where it ended up. Okay, because that's bad. It's getting
Written
worse.
notices have been sent to the owner, and she's had some conversations with them, and that's documented in the file.
We should call Don Dare. Anything else, Councilman?
No, sir, thank you.
Councilman Best.
I've got a couple things, Mr. Mayor. The first thing we approved here, I guess it's been 2 or 3 months ago by the city manager, a used car, and we allotted $10,000 to do that. This last week, I asked the chief of police about it and asked the city manager about it. They can't find anything under $10,000 that is suitable to drive, and with the mileage that we want and stuff. And I'm asking council if we could raise that number up to not exceed $20,000 to be able to get our city manager a car that he can drive around in.
If y'all look, you can't buy a car for $10,000. If you do, it's pretty much wore out.
You putting that in form of a motion?
Make that form of a motion.
Motion on the floor is to raise the ceiling for purchasing a car for the city manager from $10,000 to $20,000 only as needed by Councilman Best. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Ayler. Councilman Best, the floor is still yours.
No, I just want to make sure that we have him something that he can go do city business in and represent the city here.
Councilman Ayler,
Yes, sir.
floor is open for questions or discussion.
Well, I agree that, you know, that we need a vehicle that's presentable and dependable. Where's the extra money coming from? Can we handle it, Charles?
It would be in the nature of a budget amendment under equipment.
Chief, you're usually pretty good at that. How much, what are you thinking?
Well, as far as the Crown Vic we were looking for, we hadn't been finding one at 50,000. We find them at 85, 75, 95,000. And most of those cars are probably going for about $5,000 to $6,000. Me and city manager have been working every week. I've been talking to them. Now, to get a better car like a Tahoe or something like that, and more roomier, you're going to spend a little more than $10,000 on gov deals because generally a 2013, 2014 gov deals will probably go between 13 to 15,000, I guess. You can get from Missouri, if I remember right. I think they had 12 2013s available, and they're going to go for about 16,000. But they'll have about 50,000 miles on it, 52,000 miles on it. So if you go up to 20,000, it's definitely give me a lot more leeway, you know, as far as Tahoes, cars, whatever you want. Now, Crown Vics, 2011 is the newest Crown Vic you're going to get. They quit making 2011. So they're getting a little harder to find at 50,000 miles. I don't know if Missouri even has any more at 2011s. So, you know, if we're looking at Tahoe-wise, you're going to spend more than $10,000 for sure for a good Tahoe. You know, a Tahoe at 10,000, you're going to probably have 120,000 miles on it, 130,000 miles on it. But as you get a little higher up there, you can probably get down to about 50,000. And like I say, if you're on 15,000, 16,000, be one for them. Tahoes go for a lot. I mean, they hook the baggage very well. So.
I mean, is there some specific type of car that we gotta have?
No, I think everybody just wants something presentable that he can represent us good in. I think he keeps referring to a Tahoe. I think because most of the time on gov deals, that's kind of what gets kicked down.
It's Crown Vics. You got 2011s. You know, you can go with the Dodge Chargers. The Dodge Charger is a smaller vehicle. I think we're looking at Crown Vic at first because it's a bigger vehicle, wider, more roomier. You go with Dodge Chargers, and then even then with a Dodge Charger at 2013 miles with 2,000, you're still going to spend probably around. Usually they've been going for about 10, 12,000, I guess. So it's going to be, you know, it's just that the Crown Vics it's hard to find her now because they couldn't make them in 2011. You know. The newest one I found, it had one about 60,000 miles on it, but we lost a bid. It actually bid more than what the car was even worth. So, and we both talked about that, and we didn't think it was wise to pay more for a vehicle than what it's really worth. So, you know, and plus when you get it like that, you know, there is a little bit of risk. You know, you may have to fix your rear end. You never know because I can't test drive these vehicles. They're a good ways away, used generally. So when you get them, there is a little bit of risk. You have to put a little bit of maintenance into them, and sometimes there ain't. So.
What year of vehicle is he driving now?
A 2004.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's you know, it's one of our older administration cars we have.
I think the main thing is to have something with enough room that, like, when we have the state people come in, like we had those TDOT representatives come in one day, being able to get people in the car and take them around the city, or if we have people coming in looking at retail sites, retail recruitment, that we would have something that we can take them around in. So I think from the standpoint of room, that would be the primary goal that we'll be trying to achieve.
Any more discussion? Keep us, when you do get something, let us know what it is if you don't mind.
Okay.
Call roll, please.
Chris Taylor?
Yes.
Wayne Best?
Yes.
Buddy Holly? Kenyon Me?
Yes.
Ken Minnet?
Yes.
Lonnie Wright?
Yes.
Councilman Best, the floor is still yours.
Something else we've been discussing for, I guess, the last year and a half. As everybody knows, things are not, as far as what we got coming in, is not changing a whole lot. We hadn't raised taxes in the city of Harriman for, I know, over 20 years. And, run the business, if I didn't raise my rates every 2 or 3 years, I'd go out of business. The city's the same way. We've got to figure out ways of making new revenue. We've talked about a sales tax increase from the last year, and I've done some numbers on sales tax increase. We're at 0.095. We talked about going to 0.0975, which is the highest you can go. I've looked at the counties around us, the cities around us, to see where they're at. All of Cumberland County, cities and Cumberland County is at 9.75. Anderson County, cities are 9.75. Ray County, the cities are 9.75. Loudoun County is at 9, and Knox County is at 9.25 or 9.25. And the reason I'm saying this, we've talked about putting this on the ballot. This would be something that the people would get to vote on and decide. It's a revenue that we could get that would ultimately, I think, pay for our paving projects that we're looking at doing. It would help pay for them anyway. And we're not taxing our homeowners and our property owners. Everybody's been taxed. This is something on everybody. If you spend $1,000, that's $2.50 more you spend if we raise that tax. I don't know that that's going to break anybody, but it's the people's choice to vote on that. We're not saying you have to do it, you don't have to do it, but it's a wise choice because it gives us a revenue stream that makes up for some deficits that we have. The reason I'm bringing it up, this has to be on the ballot. We have to have this over by the 1st of April. We've got 2 months. We've been talking about it for a year. Nobody wants to raise taxes, but we're not raising. We're giving people a choice. Ultimately, we're going to have to raise taxes if we want to continue to grow. We want to continue to pay. We want to continue to fix our infrastructure. It's got to happen. Insurances and everything else is going up, and we're not changing. But this way, this puts it on everybody. Everybody that comes in here, everybody that does anything. And like I said, I don't think it's going to be enough out of anybody's pocket. If I spend $1,000 a month on groceries and gas and stuff, and it costs me $2.50 more, I don't think it's going to, to break me. It may somebody, but at least we're not just attacking homeowners, property owners. And everybody around us is doing it. So I'm asking that we think about it and put it on the agenda maybe for next week to vote on it. Gives us some time to look at it. I've got the figures from everybody around us. You're welcome to look at it. We have to, if we want to continue to move forward, we have to do something. And we're agreeing to spend $1.5 to $2 million paving. We got to start paying for it. And this is a revenue that we can do without putting a hard burden on anybody. I don't feel like. So I just want us to think about it. I'd ask the mayor that you put it on the agenda for us to vote on next week if we want to send it to the county or to the election to let the people decide. But
does that take 2 council votes, or do you know? Does it take a public hearing, or
I don't think it
just
takes a
vote?
public hearing, but I think you have to. I think you have to have 2 votes. I'm not sure.
Okay, let's put it on there then next week and check. Put it on the agenda, discuss it.
But we need to educate the people of what it's doing. And we need to let people know what we're utilizing that money for. It's just not to have a tax to stick money over here in the county. That we are using it on paving. We are using it on storm drains. We are using it on infrastructure in Harriman that is in bad need of repair. We all know that. And, this is I just think it's the way to go without getting our property.
I think how this would work, if we voted to put it on the referendum, then that starts a clock that then the county would have to, they would have to either do it or not, right?
County's got 40 days after we turn it in, after April the 7th, the county's got 40 days to piggyback on the back of it to decide whether they want to go countywide and have the referendum for the whole county, which is not counting, I don't think, the other municipalities in the county. I don't know about that, but the county's got 40 days to piggyback on us.
And if they decide not to do it, or if it gets voted down, then I think the school portion of that stays with us.
And from calculations, I mean, you know, we're not talking about $10,000. We're talking about $200,000 to $400,000 a year. And folks, we do a lot of paving. I mean, we do a lot of fixing.
Who's gonna generate this motion, this recommendation, and bring back to us? Because we need to know, you know, what the level of revenue will be, and isn't it shared with the county?
Yeah, our portion, we would keep, to generate $400,000 for the city, $400,000 for, well, half of it, yeah, would go to the school, so it'd be $200,000 for us and $200,000 for the school.
If the county matches it, if the county doesn't match it, we would keep the whole amount.
You know, and as a selling point, we need to be able, as he's already pointed out, to designate or some way dedicate those funds to streets and infrastructure especially.
We'll put it on the agenda for next week.
That's also.
Councilman Meade. Councilman Holland. I have one item, I think I've given this to a couple of you all. We did this would fall under old business because we did an evaluation of the, I gave you a copy. City manager evaluation, and I believe in December, everybody got their evaluations back to me. Where'd that go? Oh, I gave you the originals. So I have gone through and scored them and then summarized them for you. That's what I've handed out as a summary of them. There were 10 categories that we scored, that we graded Kevin on. Individual characteristics, professional skills, relations with elected members, policy execution, reporting, citizens relations, staffing, supervision, fiscal management, and community. Out of those 10, we scored him on, and if we scored him with a 1, that means poor, 2 was below average, 3 was average, 4 was above average, and 5 was excellent. So as you can see down through there, individual characteristics, he averaged out with everybody, what everybody gave me. His average scores for that were 4.26, professional skills 4.4, relations with elected members of the governing body 4.3, policy execution 4.4, reporting 4.46, citizens relations 4.3, staffing 4.26, supervision 4.3, fiscal management 4.1, and community 4.4, which gave him an average score of 4.325, which was the whole evaluation as a whole. He scored above average. The next page were 4 different questions that you could make comments on. Some people decided to comment, some people didn't. That's kind of a synopsis of how everybody commented, a summary. And at the bottom, there's a notation. The originals that everyone turned in, plus the original summary, will be placed in his personnel file. Are there any questions? If not, we'll move on to reporting. I'm sorry. Yes, reporting. Bill Young.
Some updates, and then I have one other thing I wanted to talk about at the end. The gas line replacement, we've been talking about phase 2 of that, which will be here in the downtown area.
You may have seen on some of the streets and alleyways, there's been some lines marked and so forth. Our crew's been doing that in conjunction with our engineers to prepare the plans and specs. We plan on to advertise bids on this phase 2 this spring, and hopefully by spring, early summer, start work on that. So that's going to be a big project for us. All the material is in for the street light replacement from Morgan Street to the bridge. We're trying to get this scheduled. Obviously, weather has something to do with that. This is more than, as the council knows, more than just changing out the lights. This is taking up the old bases, putting new bases in, doing all that. Steve's going to get it on schedule as quickly as we can. May be a little closer to springtime, but we'd like to get that done here pretty quickly. The CDBG grant, this is for the replacement of the water line on Airport Road. Our engineer is in the process of pulling permits. He's got the TDOT permit. The good news is that this is going to go along the right of way, so we're not going to have to acquire any easements or anything out there, which is always a good thing. We should have bids and get the work done this spring. That's going to go pretty quickly, so should free up to get back in the cycle for another CDBG grant. I don't think we're going to have any trouble meeting that time frame. Our water plant rehab, our board approved a contract with U.S. Tanks. They were the low bidder on this. We had a pre-construction meeting with them last week. It looks like that's going to start tentatively in mid to late March. All of this is going to have to be carefully coordinated because there's only 30 days to get this done. We got to take one filter out of service. We can operate on the other one, but you know, we've got a tight window to get the media out, get it cleaned, get the tank painted and so forth. So the indication from the contractor is he may be doing a lot of round the clock work down there to fit it in this window, and that has to do with temperatures and so forth of the river and all this technical stuff that we have to meet in order to get this done, get that filter back in service. Speaking of water, I'd like to just share one other thing. I'll take one of those passages. One other thing real quickly. I know everybody's been aware of what's going on in Flint, Michigan, and unfortunately in another area too in our country, concerning lead contamination in the water. And I want to assure the council tonight and our customers that this is not an issue for the Harriman Utility Board or the city of Harriman or our customers. In 1992, the state started requiring copper and lead testing. When it originally began, we were testing on an annual basis. We scored well enough that our testing now only has to be done once every 3 years. Our last test in 2014, as you see on this memo, has been prepared by Ms. Bonasdale, our engineer. We did our test in 2014. Of all the samples taken, we met and exceeded the requirements. In all of those, we have no issues with lead. The situation in Flint, Michigan, you know, they went to another water source, and when they went to this other water source to save money, there was some corrosive elements in that water that they did not use the proper chemicals for. It leached it leached lead out of the lines and into their water system. We have one of the best water sources anywhere around here, which is the Emory River. It's a great water source. We're fortunate to have it. So I want to, like I say, I want to assure everybody that this is not an issue for Harriman. Our last 3 sanitary survey scores, which are done by the state of Tennessee, we scored 2 100s and a 98. So our water system is in excellent condition. I know this is a question on people's minds because you want your families and your children to be safe, and I can tell you unequivocally tonight that we don't have an issue with lead in our drinking water. So be glad to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you for your work on that. That's something we take for granted.
Yes, sir, it is.
You turn your water on. I did know that we had a score of 100. I didn't know we had another 198.
Our last 3 surveys. So. Yeah, we dropped down to 98, and we'll try to get back to 100.
When you're, the only place it goes down, when you got 100. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Fire department, report.
No report, everything's going good, Mayor.
Police department.
Yeah, I just got one thing. We got, had a couple of Crown Vics that got back from the fire department about a month and a half ago, 2 months ago. And we got a couple of Crown Vics here at deadline. We've already got them stripped down and cleaned up, and we want to go ahead and put them on gov deals. And I understand I have to get permission from y'all to go ahead and do that.
Surplus of, what year was that year?
2002s and I think 2005s.
Make a motion with surplus of cars.
Motion by Councilman Meade to surplus the 4 Crown Vics, I believe.
Crown Vics.
Second, motion by Councilman Meade, second by Councilman Best. Councilman Meade?
No, sir.
Councilman Best?
No, sir.
Floor is open for question or discussion. Any idea how much we will get for them?
We'll probably get between 1,200 to 1,600 apiece.
Any discussion? Call the roll.
Chris Taylor?
Yes.
Wayne Best?
Yes.
Buddy Holly?
Yes.
Kenny Me?
Yes.
Ken Minnet?
Yes.
Lonnie Wright?
Yes.
Anything else?
Yes, sir.
Kevin, city manager report.
The Recreation Department is currently conducting a survey for citizens to fill out, to share with us their thoughts with regard to the various programs that are currently being offered and could be considered to be offered in the future, as well as facilities. That survey is available online. You can go to the city's website and access it. Also, is that sort of ties into the upcoming grant that we're considering putting an application in for. And associated with that grant process, we're required to have several different public hearings. And so we have the first 3 of 6 that we're required to have scheduled. Citizens can stop by, ask questions, share input with us. Council members are welcome to attend, though it's not required that you be at all of the hearings. We will have staff there to run the hearings. The first one is going to be on the 9th this month. It will be from 5 to 7 p.m. Here at City Hall. It will be just prior to the council meeting that will begin that evening at 7 p.m. We also have one planned for the 18th. It will be from 4 to 6 p.m. and that will be held at the Trailhead and Princess Theater. And then the third meeting is on the 27th of this month from 3 to 5 p.m. and that will be held at the Community Center. All of those meetings will contain the same information, so it's only necessary for someone to come to one of those if they have interest. Whichever one is most convenient for their schedule, they may do so. Also, I wanted to let you know that the Dollar General store on the north side of town is nearing opening, and mainly I wanted to point out the inspection process has been going well with that particular location as we've changed the codes, building codes inspections during the process, and we're trying to see how the new contract employee process is going. That has been going well. The contractor seems to be pleased with the process. Had a little bit of a transition. First week was a little difficult as everybody tried to get up to speed, but once we got past that, the process seems to be working fine. Wanted to let you know that we have been in contact with Congressman Flashman's office with regard to our request to remove the tennis courts in South Harriman. The information that I received from them after talking with someone in the Park Service office was that we should have information back within about 10 days from now. Presumably an approval will go forward with that. So I know where council has said that it was okay for us to go ahead and start the demolition. if need be, to be able to get ready for the upcoming ball season. We think we're going to be able to get the actual response back from the federal department prior to doing that work and still meet the startup of the ball season. That's all the things I have. I'd be glad to take questions if you have any. And I do also think this evening that Rebecca has some information to share with you as well in the department reports.
Okay. Any questions for Kevin? I forgot to say congratulations on the evaluation. 4.3 as an above average score. That's fantastic. Thank you for the good job that you've done. Moving to the city manager form of government has been a long process for us. It took us 10 years at least to get there, and we were all worried about, and it was so crucial who the first person was that sat in his seat. And not many people could have done it. And I don't think has really made anybody upset or and he's been fair. But anyway, you've done a great job, and thank you, and we look forward to more years to come. Moving on, Dr. Curley?
I have about 3 items. I gave you a copy of the letter from Bank of America. They finally sent us a letter saying the loan were paid off, the ones we had at Pinnacle Point, 2 $1.5 million loans. So that's verification information for you. Next week I will be bringing forward the loan documents for your approval and mayor's signature for $112,000 to buy the police cars and the fire. I guess it's called a pickup truck, but it won't be a pickup truck long. So. And what we will be doing also in the next workshop, we'll be discussing the details of the $2 million loan. I do have the proposals for that, for variable rate and the fixed rate. And we need to discuss that in a workshop and then move on to obtaining the documents for borrowing the money.
Do we need to discuss that, did you say, in a workshop and then have a special call meeting, or no?
We don't have to have a special call meeting, but we can do that if you want to do it quickly.
Is there any need
Because
to?
the bank has already sent forward the proposals and the information for completing the loan. And what we have to discuss is a variable rate versus a fixed rate. And after we've made that had that discussion, we can move on then to actually obtaining the loan documents that we will do at a future meeting to borrow the money. So.
Okay.
But we will be needing signature on this loan next meeting if you want to get it right away. Everything is completed except your approval and the mayor's signature.
On the meeting and a half?
No, 112,000.
Okay. So we put that on the agenda then, correct?
Yeah,
Okay.
we will.
Anything else?
That's it.
Thank you. Attorney, Allison, you have anything?
The only thing is, Greg Lefeu, he represents the Harriman Housing Authority, and he has again sent a letter, I think this time it was directed to the manager, that's been circulated, asking for paving and on particular roads in the housing authority. And I know we had discussion as far as are they paying the in lieu tax, are they not, are they supposed to, what's going on with that situation. So we need to get a meeting with, whoever with the housing authority to discuss that sooner rather than later. Because just as the attorney, I foresee probably some kind of lawsuit against the city if we don't address that issue. We start paving other things without having a reason for not doing it. If we're not going to do it there, if we pave it, then they'll be happy, but that's kind of lingering.
Good point. We had a meeting this past week, Dr. Curley and I, and met with Chairman Best and Amy. Was anybody else there? That's right.
Kevin was there.
That's right. Board member Deminovich. But we had a good meeting, and we have another one scheduled, a follow-up meeting, I think, in a couple of weeks. If we could include Allison on I don't know why we didn't include you on that, but we'll include her on the next meeting. But it was a good meeting. Thank you.
I think the meeting was actually scheduled prior to receiving that letter, so it wasn't specifically in response to the letter.
Anything else?
No.
Marketing, Rebecca?
I just wanted to announce we're going to be hosting a chili cook-off, actually following our last meeting about the grants at the community center on Saturday, February 27th from 5 to 7. And I'm hoping this event will go well so that we can continue to have it every year and build each year. I'm looking for businesses, organizations, and church groups to kind of put chili in for it. And the public's also welcome to come and judge the chili as well. We're going to have some judges, so there'll be mild and hot chili judged by the other judges. And then we'll have a popular vote as well. And if you want to, right now we have advance tickets for the public for $3, and they're going to be $5 at the door. And it's just $10 to enter your chili. So.
When is it again?
February the 27th. It's a Saturday from 5 to 7.
Give us one prize, first place, or first, second, third?
There'll be first place only, but there'll be 3 categories. So there'll be judge's choice for mild and hot, and then people's choice. So. And if you want an application, they're on the website under events, or you can come and pick them up here.
Got it. Sounds like fun. Thank you. Committee reports. Being none, I'll move on to the short agenda. Discuss and possibly take action on the replacement of Brandon Ferguson on the Recreation Advisory Committee. Brandon turned in his resignation. He wanted to help, but it was interfering. The meeting times were interfering with his daughter's ball games, and he was missing his daughter's ball games to be on the board. I totally understand. And we were also a person short, so I have two recommendations for that board. My apologies. I usually try to get everyone's comments before I do an appointment, but I know that everyone knows these two gentlemen very well. Greg Love Sr. and Joe Eskridge Sr. are both pillars of the community and have been here and been active in our community for a long time. They did express interest and did accept, if you all so pleased, for them to sit on this board. So I'd like to recommend Greg Love Sr. and Joe Eskridge Sr. for the Recreation Advisory Board.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Councilman Minor, second. Second by Councilman Ayler. Councilman Minor, you have any?
No, sir.
Councilman Ayler.
As always, I'm just glad that they're willing to serve on the board.
Floor is open. Call roll, please.
Chris Taylor?
Yes.
Wayne Best?
Yes.
Buddy Holly?
Yes.
Kenyon Mead?
Yes.
Ken Minnet?
Yes.
Lonnie Wright?
Yes.
We'll have an update and a request from that board, I believe, on next week's agenda. Next item on the agenda is discuss and possibly approve the Margrave Bridge project. Kevin?
We have received what we believe to be a final invoice for the city's portion of this project. We're asking your approval to make payment on the invoice. As I understand it, there's basically 2 things that are pending to get this project bid on April 1st. One would be the payment of this invoice in the amount of $35,042.47. The second thing is we're awaiting the TDOT Commissioner's signature on a contract amendment that is in regards to railroad access for the roadway. The railroad and the city has already executed that amendment, so it's really just a formality for the TDOT Commissioner to sign off on that. Just to give you a little bit of a synopsis of the project as a whole, it appears that expended to date, there's been somewhere in the neighborhood of $368,500. That was for the design and right-of-way portions of the project. The city's share of those 2 phases was 20%, which equates to a total of roughly $73,700. So this payment would represent just under half of our share of the project. We had spent approximately $287,000 as of December 2014 on the project, which is kind of when we were able to meet with TDOT and get the project moving forward again. And that's where the numbers were at. And so we've spent about $81,000 since that point in time to get the project to the construction phase, meaning that the city's share of the expenses since the project has restarted has been just over $16,000. So at that point in time, we were faced with the prospect of having to pay the state all of the funds that they expended to date, roughly $287,000, had to cancel the project, or we've incurred about an additional $16,000 in expenses since that point in time to have the project go forward. And the state is paying 100% of the cost of the construction phase. So again, we do anticipate this will be the final invoice on the project.
So you need authorization for $16,000 payment?
No, it'd be $35,042.47. Difference being 16 is what we have incurred since we restarted the project, but we did have a balance owing at that point in time, and so that's what the difference is between the 16 and the 35.
What, Kevin, what was the 73K?
Basically 73.7 is the city's 20% share of the total expenses for the design and right-of-way acquisition. Once we pay this $35,000, then our total expenses would be at roughly 73.7.
So the 35,042 will be all the cost that we'll incur in this project at this point.
Should be all the costs we'll incur in the project, period. There could be a small invoice out there that was part of the design that we'd have to pay 20% on, but I really think we'd be talking in the hundreds of dollars if that were to happen. But as far as the state knows at this point in time, this is the final payment.
I think if I remember correctly, and you can help me, but I think for some reason I was thinking that our portion anyway was going to be about $110,000 when we started this.
And the original.
Yeah, long
scoping.
time ago.
I think that was even after. I think
Yes, that was
when
after.
they thought the railroad
It was
made
gonna pay-
so I think the original was about 150 or something.
It was going to be 110 and 110. The railroad was going to pay half, and we were going to pay 10%. So it's about, comes out to about that anyway.
One other question, there's no better option for the city other than pay this 35,042.
Now, the other option would be to cancel the project, and at that point, we would be, it's my understanding, I haven't asked Allison, but it's my understanding that if we cancel the project, our contract with the state states that we would have to reimburse them in full for all expenses, not just our 20% share.
That's my point, yeah, okay.
And we do have something, we talked about it before, on their 100% contribution. We have a letter or contract stating that they are 100% on construction.
I definitely have it written in an email, and we may have something else indicating that, but I definitely have it from in an email from this same person that signed the invoice request letter, Whitney Sullivan.
You know when the project will be let out? It's supposed to be let in February now.
They're saying April 1st. Mainly due to taking a little bit longer than they anticipated to get their railroad signatures on that agreement, because there was some back and forth over the language, what the state wanted and what the railroad wanted.
is HEB's ready for this?
Will you yield to me just a
Can I
minute?
yield the floor?
Yes, you have the floor, sir.
Because I wanted to ask, you know, Mr. Wally with PDOT has been communicating with us recently about some work we've had to go over there and do. I'm not sure how that fits into this. I mean, do we get reimbursed for that, or is that just cost we've expended for our utility? You know, it goes.
I don't know the answer to that.
Yeah, to answer your question, Mr. Bass, yes, we've been over there and done what they requested us to do, and they wanted a pole removed, and what Steve and them done is actually floated a line because we couldn't put a pole back where they wanted at this point. And there's gonna be some other things related to the water along the same vein, so, you know, we've done some work over there so far.
What was the exact amount, Kevin? 35,000?
35,042.47.
I make a motion that we approve the payment of $35,042.47.
Motion on the floor by Councilman Ayler to approve a payment of $35,042.47 to the state to the Margrave Bridge project as a final payment. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Meade. Councilman Ayler.
We had some constituents come pro and against this bridge being reconstructed. I understand both sides of it. I would like for the council at some point to consider, when the bridge project is done, to address the concerns of those who live along Margrave Street, to put in some type of speed bumps to prevent high rates of speed for cars traveling down through there. I think that would address the issue that they have with this bridge reopening, and I think it would provide a measure of safety for those living along that street. That's all.
Councilman Meade.
No, sir.
Floor is open for questions or discussion. I agree with Councilman Ayler. I do want to reiterate the fact that this project was started in 2001, and it was supposed to be a project where the bridge was torn down and brought right back up. There has been some people that have insinuated that we are just going to build a bridge there, just to put a bridge there, and it's going to cause them problems. That's not the case. It's a replacement, and this has been in motion ever since the beginning of 2001. And if we do stop the project, then it's going to cost us some $300,000. Any more discussion? Call the roll.
Chris Taylor?
Yes.
Wayne Best?
Yes.
Buddy Holly?
Yes.
Kenyon Meade?
Yes.
Ken Minus? Lonnie Wright?
Yes.
Remind everyone to put on your calendar February 27th for the chili cook-off. There'll still be a second and third place available after I put my chili in. And I'll remind you to shop Harriman, shop Roane County. Is there a motion to adjourn? Oh, I'm sorry, Casa is this weekend. It's like $50 and it's downtown Saturday. Motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Second.